Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for attending tonight. You know, it's a Thursday night, and what else is there to do except sit on your couch, pop in some earphones, and listen to me chat for the next 45 minutes. So, a big thank you for everyone who's on the call tonight and everyone who's registered. I really appreciate it, and I hope that I'm going to give you some lots of information or food for thought, which is a nice little pun intended, for the next 45 minutes on the value of, you know, the skinny on food versus your hormones. So this is what we're going to talk about for the next 45 minutes. And it's really such a funny topic, isn't it? Because we eat every day. Food is a bane of our life, and it's so hard that most people just don't know, and they're confused about what to eat, how to eat, when to eat, and it's causing massive big problems in our society. So, you know, thank you so much for taking the time to sit in and have a listen, and I hope that I give you lots of things to think about and take away and implement in your life, that food really can be simple. So let's start going, hey? So the skinny on food versus your hormones. So let's get this started. Come on, slide, work with me. Okay, next one, here we go. So to get you started, oops, yikes, I just gave you a sneak preview then. So who am I? So a lot of people on the call now will know me, and some of you may not know me personally, but who am I? So my name's Andrea, and I'm a mum to a gorgeous, frustrating, superbly creative and Pokemon-loving 21-year-old and fluffy puppy. So most of you would have seen Teddy all over Facebook, but unfortunately my son says if you put me on Facebook too much, I will disown you. So I've got to adhere to his requests on that one. So yes, I love being his mum, and you know, it's a wonderful, frustrating journey, as most of you mums out there would know. So I call myself a bit of an adventurous seeker because, you know, life throws so many things at you, and you need to grow, and you're forced to grow, so you don't always have a choice. But, you know, I haven't always been this fun-loving kind of gal because, you know, when I was growing up, I was a real glass half empty kind of girl, and you know, I was looking around and observing everyone else having, you know, the joys and the life that I was wishing for, but for some reason it just wasn't that way for me. So I did a lot of internal learning and looking and growing, and it's gotten me to the space where I am today, which is wonderful because I'm very, very happy, and, you know, I love who I am and what I have to offer the world. So, but it is a journey, and you have to go through that on your own and create your own path, right? And I'm a heart-centered health soul. So, you know, I've spent a long, long time in the health and fitness industry, in the last 10 plus years as a personal trainer. And, you know, you do see lots of things, and you hear lots of things, and you feel lots of things. But, you know, the thing that I think makes me different is that I do come from a heart place where I really connect to people on a different level. And it's not just about telling you how to do squats or push-ups, even though, you know, movement's a big part of health, but it's not all there is. So, you know, I learned very early on that there's more to health than just exercise. So, you know, I set out on a path to sort of investigate and research a lot more about how I can help people on their journeys. And as I said, personal trainer for over 10 years, and such a wonderful path that I set out on. And, you know, I've always loved being strong and fit and active, and I was active since I was a young girl. So it kind of, well, it didn't make sense because I didn't really start till I was 36. So it didn't make sense at the time, but, you know, being a personal trainer was more of a luxury kind of career way back when. Then it's a bit more dime a dozen now. So the key is to find a good one and stick with them, huh? And, you know, I'm a firm believer that all the world is awesome. So I like to have that view about the world and about people, and it sets me in good stead for the day rather than focusing on all the negatives that's out there. You know, it's just, life's too short to be focusing on the negatives. And I'm an op shop treasure hunter. You know, there's something wonderful and magical about going into vintage shops or op shops and going through all the treasure and finding some gold. I mean, a lot of the things that you see me wear, and probably 80% of my wardrobe is op shop related. And you know what? I kind of, it just matches my quirky nature, and I love that about it. So you know, it's fun, it's exciting, and it's quirky, and it matches me, and it just works. So, you know, it's not for everyone, but I think it's fun, so that's where you'll see me spending all my time. So, and it's also a bit of a joy to put things together that you found, you know, and maybe someone's grandma was wearing, but hey, fashion is all about you matching your personality, right? So that's where I go. So, okay, so the next slide, you've already had a sneak peek of it. But the next slide, I mean, there's a lot of people who always ask me, or, you know, they assume that when you look at someone who is, well, healthy and healthy looking and lean, they assume that you've always been that way. And I'm the first one to tell anyone who's willing to listen that it's not that way. So I've had my ups and downs with food over my lifetime. You know, I had a really bad relationship with food when I was younger, and you know, you go through the ups and downs of overeating, then undereating, and it's not great for you. It makes you, puts you in a really bad headspace, and it makes you feel gross, you know, physically as well. So I understand that why people have so many eating disorders these days is because it's really hard to find that balance for what works for you. And it's really hard to sort of work out where food sits in your life for you as well. So I do get it. And, you know, I fluctuated weight when I was pregnant, and, you know, I put 20 kilos on, and, you know, I was a size 16 when I was pregnant, after I was pregnant, and that was just, that's a really massive slap in the face. So I think lots of things spiraled from there. But I'm just giving you a heads up, because on the next slide, I'm going to show you some photos of me, which I've been encouraged by lots of people along the way to share more photos of myself, so I can show you that I've had that sort of up and down journey with you know, my weight and body and how I felt about myself. So I think it's important to share, because it shows you that, you know, I've walked in your shoes. I've felt that pain of looking in the mirror and not liking what you see. So anyway, here we go. There we go. Okay, so some photos. So we'll start with this one here, which is me when I was about 5, with the little pigtails and a crooked fringe, which my mother decided to do one morning when my hair was wet before a photo opportunity, as you do. And, you know, I'm kind of cute, so I like pulling that one out every now and again and going, look how cute am I. And my son is a spitting image of me when he was that age too. So this black and white one here is me when I was about 21, and you know, my face is a lot fuller, and I look at it and I go, wow. Even though I was, you know, I always usually sat at around a size 12-ish, I suppose, but considering now I'm an 8 to a 10, you know, a 12 is actually feels, and in my head is a lot bigger than what I feel now. And, you know, that was me at a photo shoot for my boyfriend turned husband back when I was 21, and that was my trying to be sexy, pouty face, which, you know, I kind of not really pulling that off, am I? So, but that was another indication of, you know, how I you know, not my self-esteem, but, you know, compared to where I am now, it's certainly a big contrast. And of course, up here with this little wee bub, which is Zach, he was about maybe 2 weeks old there. So of course you can see that, yes, I have a much fuller face, and that's I'm sitting down and wearing black, because black was hiding so many things. And yeah, so as I said, when I was pregnant, I ate everything in sight. If it wasn't nailed down, it was in my mouth and being eaten. You know, that whole myth about eating for 2 when you're pregnant, which is a myth in itself. But you kind of go into that mode, and it sort of gives you the okay to go ahead and just eat to your heart's content. And, you know, my body type is that if I eat and I don't exercise, my body starts to gain the weight, which is what most people do, right? So I stopped exercising because I was tired and didn't feel like it. So I just decided I'm not going to do it. So I gained about 20 kilos when I was pregnant with Zach, and he was born late November. So the reason I know I was a size 16, because I was looking for something to wear on Christmas Day, and I was just fitting into a snug size 16. So people don't believe me when I tell them that, but yeah, it's the truth. And I think I remember looking in my mirror and feeling so sad and disappointed in myself that I'd let myself do that. But I'm a boots and all kind of girl, so when I put my mind to something, I just do it. So, you know, about 4 months later, I was back to my normal weight because I just disliked so heavily what I saw in the mirror that I just went, right, that's it. How do I fix this? And off I went and did it. And it was great having Zach pop him in the pram, go for a walk every day, and, you know, gives you an excuse to get out and about. So then moving on to when I was about 36, which is down here, the little black shirt, that's me on my, you know, first, when I became a personal trainer at 36. So that's me in my little Fitness First uniform, because I started at Fitness First in Bourke Street. And even there, you know, I look at my face and go, wow, you know, I just look so different. And of course, that little funky hairstyle there. But yeah, it was me, fresh-faced and bushy-tailed and ready to take on the world and change people's lives. And so that was kind of where, you know, a big transformation for me began. So that's what, 36. So I'm 48 now. So, but if you come back up here, so these little pretty groovy photos here, yes, I decided that I want to enter the bodybuilding world. So this one here in the little purple sparkly bikini was my first comp, and that was probably, I started training in my first year of PT, so it was something I wanted to do, and you know, really just test myself and challenge myself, because, you know, as you know, obviously you're very restricted in your dieting, so you go from one phase of eating lots more to build muscle and to get your body in that space where your body just, you know, sucks up food as fuel, and you get to the point where you create more muscle, and then you lean down, so you go into that real restrictive phase, which, you know, neither is fun in one way, because I wasn't used to eating so much food. So, you know, the whole myth that you eat, you know, you have to really restrict yourself when you're leaning down is actually quite different now than it was then. So yes, I came second in that one, so I was pretty impressed with myself. I did 4 comps all up, and I came second a couple of times, which was pretty cool. And you know, you look at photos now and go, yeah, that's kind of hot, right? I did okay. I went all right there. So, and then the one next to it, and this is the one here, and yes, oh, crumbs. Sorry, guys. This one here, my computer is super sensitive. Is yes, and yes, that's hair extensions. I think my hair was about chin length then, it was a little bob. So I thought, hey, let's be a bit girly and put some hair extensions in. And you know what? They're heavy, suckers. They're heavy. Couldn't wait to get them off my head. I felt like I had 3 kilos on my head. And that was more of a figure competition. So it was just about leaning down but not being too muscular. So that was just something else I wanted to do, and you pop your bikini on and off you go. And then this one down here, which is just me at the beach, you know, beginning of this year, at 48. And it's not a photo in my bikini on purpose to say, hey, this is me, aren't I awesome? It's not that at all. It's just to be a representation of, you know, if you find that right space where your body is at its right equilibrium, its right state of maintenance and balance, then that's all you have to do, right? It's just, I just eat simply. I just eat when I'm hungry, and I listen to my body's signs, and that's exactly what I do. Okay, I don't do anything beyond that, and I move, and that's the simple equation. And my body just stays this weight and stays the same because I just do what it needs and what it's asking of me, and that's the key. Okay, it really is that simple. So we like to overcomplicate things as human beings, which is, it's our job on this planet to overcomplicate things, and that's where we need to change things. And yeah, so hopefully I can give you some information tonight on how that can work for you. Okay, so let's get started and move on. So it's really nice to have lots of people listening in, so I'm so grateful, as I said. But let's go and see what I can share with you and help change your view about you know, understanding what food does to your hormones and how it affects your weight and your shape. So let's go. Okay, so what will you learn today? So the big things I want to teach you is that food is your friend and not your enemy or to be feared. Okay, so there's so much information out there at the moment, and it's so easy to be overwhelmed, to feel that there's so much information out there. So how on earth do you work out what's right for you? And there's no cookie cutter answer for this. Okay, so one I hate the word diet because diet implies that it's all about a start date and an end date. Okay, you do this for this amount of time and that's where it stops. But the way I use the word diet is that, what's your diet like? I'll ask someone who's wants some help from me. What's your diet like? No, I'm not on a diet. I go, well, no, diet just implies how you eat. Okay, that's your method of eating, your process of how you eat. That's your diet. Okay. But there's so many, every time you go onto the internet or the television, there's the latest and the latest craze, latest fad on how to eat and lose weight quickly. It's not true. It's not real. Okay, you can lose weight really quickly, but it's not right. Your body's just going to sap it back up later on down the track somewhere. So I totally get how confusing and overwhelming this whole industry of health and fitness and well-being is. Even I've scratched my head quite a lot of times along the way going, this is just insane that we're giving people such wrong information about what it means to be healthy. So how you eat can be simple. And I've just sort of said that just a minute ago when I looked at that photo, is that it's simple, okay? It really is, but it's unfortunate that every time we go to the shops or everywhere you turn on the television, there's just more, overloading with food. Hey, come and eat here. This is convenient. This is easy. This is quick, but it's not great for you, okay? So how you eat can be really, really simple, and I'm the biggest fan of that. So we'll also learn about the 2 hormones that you should know about and how they are responsible for your weight. So there's so many hormones that run rampant in our body, and but that's another whole webinar, right? Because I'm not the expert on hormones, but I do believe that I've got a lot of information and valuable information about ones that are really important. And I don't want to overload you anymore with, you need to know these hormones and you need to do that. But the key is that if you know the right ones, well then, you just pay attention to those, and then off you go, Bob's your uncle, and you've got some really good information under your belt. And obviously there's 3 mindset tricks that will help you get through those challenging times and how to get back in the driver's seat of how you eat and feel. So I think, the equation I used to give out to clients when I was PTing was that food is 80% of your weight loss equation, or any equation on how your body looks, okay? So 80% food and 20% exercise. And I think over time I've reevaluated that and I've rejigged those numbers. So I really do believe now that food is still the most important part. But I think I've jigged it down to 60%, and I think 20% or 10% is exercise and 30% is mindset, because how you think and what your beliefs are and what your limiting beliefs are will be a big player in what you eat, how you eat, why you don't exercise, why you do exercise, okay? Your thoughts will control everything that you do. So why isn't mindset a big part of that equation then, right? It has to be. You just can't get away with it. You can exercise till the cows come home, but if you don't look at your food and if you don't look at changing your behaviors and your thoughts around that, well, then you're really fighting an uphill battle. And that's why so many people yo-yo with their weight, because they haven't honed in on their belief systems and their thought patterns around changing the behaviors to match changing their food and their exercise behaviors, right? Make sense? Yeah, I think it does too. And for me, my biggest values in this world are, well, my number 1 value is looking as good and feeling as good as I can for my age as I get older. Okay, so I look at so many people who are in their older years, and they're in wheelchairs, or their movement is really slow, and you can just tell that they're not well, and that's so frightening for me. I really don't want to go down that track. So I just think, okay, what can I do every day that's going to make me feel vital, that's going to make me feel energetic, that's going to make me my body look the way I want and to feel the way I want, so I can wear what I want, and I just go and do it. And don't get me wrong, I love champagne, and I'll eat some things that you know, chocolate and biscuits every now and again, but they're just not on my radar of things that I need, okay? Every now and again I'll have them, but, you know, I just go, yeah, look, it's nice, but it's not something I go looking for as a staple, okay? I don't need it. It doesn't work for me, and it doesn't equal the equation that I just said, okay? Making me look good and feel good for my age, and it just doesn't match, right? So I choose not to. So anyway, let's get going. Okay, so let's start talking about you are a reflection of what you eat. So pretty easy to, it's pretty self-explanatory, that one, right? So you really are. So it's pretty easy, and okay, we can say that it's a judgment, or it's an easy assumption to make that when you look at someone, and it's not going to be right every single time, because you do have really thin people who are very unwell. So, you know, it's not going to be the right assumption for every time, but I think it's a pretty general assumption to make that when you look at people, you can make an assumption about what their diet or what their healthy patterns are like. So if you were to look at a thin, lean, fit-looking person, it's a safe assumption to say, okay, well, they work out and they must have a good diet, and okay, pretty standard. And if you were to look at someone who's carrying extra weight, they're moving slower, you know, their skin's a bit dull looking, or they've got acne or pimples or something like that, it's a pretty safe assumption to make that their eating isn't great, they may not move very often, and hence their body looks the way it does, okay? So I think that's pretty safe to make those two judgments, right? So you are a reflection of what you eat. And as I said, the equation I think now is, you know, 60% food, 10% exercise, and 30% mindset. So that's what I believe now. And our bodies are not designed to cope with all the foods that are in the marketplace today, okay? They're just not. There's so much food that's available to us now in the supermarkets, in fast food takeaways, fast food courts when you go shopping. There's so much stuff there that is not real, okay? It's been processed, it's been put together, it's been man-made. And what happens is that our bodies just aren't capable of knowing what those foods are. They're not capable of processing all those foods, and that's where all the problems come in. So nearly all the intolerances and allergies that are out there right now, and especially in our children, nearly all of those come from our body's inability to accept all the processed foods that are out there, all the man-made stuff, okay? Our bodies just don't register what they are. That's where the problem starts. So let's move on. Hormones, yay! This is what we're here to learn about, right? Hormones, and we all know we have them, and of course our lovely little lady down the right-hand corner, because that's what hormones do to us, all right? They can make us cranky, evil people, or make our bodies go off the charts. So hormones, so what you eat is part of the equation, but how your body processes it is the most important part, okay? So what you eat is part of it, but how your body works with it is more important to understand. So there's 4 reasons that we eat. So let's look at those now. So the first one is physical. So what we mean by that is that's what all our hormones are. So the physical side of why we eat and how we eat is all the hormones that we're talking about, insulin, leptin, all those sorts of things, you know, serotonin, deficiencies, you know, where your body's missing out on something. They're part of the physical aspects that make up why we eat and what we eat. So the second one is psychological. So I think we all have an understanding of what that means, is that, you know, why do we eat? Because we're upset, because we're emotional, because we have a lack of self-esteem or self-worthiness. So, you know, if a boyfriend breaks up with you, or, you know, you're sad about something, we go and eat. Or if we're bored or we're down, we go and eat. It's all psychological reasons. Are they real reasons? No, but they're psychologically push us towards food as a comforter, right? And then, of course, you've got environmental. So environmental, we're a very social species as human beings. You know, we like to hang out with our friends. We like to go out on the weekends and eat, drink, and be merry. So that's our environmental need to be accepted, to be significant, and to have, you know, our tribe around us. But what we do is that we eat and we drink, and you know, we're mindlessly just adding to our body's inability to process things. So the environmental reasons are a big part of why people have eating problems as well. And then there's real hunger, which is self-explanatory. You're hungry, so you'll eat, right? So your body will tell you when it's time to eat, when you're hungry. But quite often, you know, dehydration is also another sign that people misinterpret as being hungry. So if you're dehydrated, people go, oh gosh, I need to eat. And they'll eat, but it's actually adding to their dehydration. So sometimes we misinterpret that sign. So you just might need a drink of water. So real hunger. So there's a lot of 4 reasons there actually why we eat. So what you eat is part of the equation, but how your body actually processes it is really what we need to look at, okay? And that's where hormones come in. So, and don't forget, every person's different, right? So this is a basic understanding, but there will be times where you have unique, you know, things going on in your body that, you know, needs to be addressed in different ways. So this is just a very, very general fundamental space to come from, okay? So, but it does, simplicity still is the key for me. All right, let's go. Okay, so what are the 2 hormones you need to know about? So as I said, there's lots of other hormones out there, but I think if you get to know them, you know, a little at a time and get to know the important ones, well, then you're way ahead of the pack, and you're way ahead of understanding what your body needs and how to work with it, okay? So the first one is leptin, and I sort of just laughed at myself when I looked at this earlier on this picture, because I actually think that lady on the left is probably pregnant. So the picture, I think I picked the wrong one, but I kind of figure it really matches what I was looking for. So, you know, feeling full, and affectionately people call it having a food baby, because their belly bloats after eating a big meal, and you know, you feel pretty ordinary. So I think whether she's pregnant or not, I think it still fits, right? So leptin is the hormone that tells you I'm full. Okay, so this is a message that comes from your brain. So leptin is produced in the brain, and it tells you I'm full. You can stop eating now, I'm full. So when we eat, our bodies release leptin, which sends the signals to your brain telling you that you are full. But the problem lies here. And like I mentioned a little bit earlier, that when we eat sugars, leptin releases, or the leptin, the amount of leptin that your body releases actually stops. So the signal doesn't get sent to your brain telling you that you're full. So that's why you can always keep eating, you know, sugary things or processed things, because your body doesn't actually activate that leptin release to tell your brain I'm full. So you can eat lollies and stuff till the cows come home. It'll never make you full, okay? It actually affects a different hormone, which is your, you know, that adrenaline, that quick adrenaline release that sugar gives you when you want it. So you go, oh gosh, I'm having a down moment, so I'll go and eat some sugar. So that sends a different signal, right? But it's only very short-lived, as you probably all know. So what happens is when you eat sugar is that it actually stops leptin from being released, because once again, I said, your body does not recognize foods that aren't real. So it doesn't trigger the normal hormonal reaction that your body is meant to. So when you eat sugar, the whole leptin release, that hormone release, doesn't get triggered, doesn't work. Okay, so the signal doesn't get sent to your brain. So you can always keep eating and eating and eating foods that contain sugars. So whole foods, anything that's real, anything like, you know, proteins and vegetables, those sorts of things, they let your body respond naturally because they're real foods, and your body understands and recognizes and go, okay, that's real, cool, I know what I have to do now, so I'll just go bam, 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 and do exactly what it has to do. So your body responds in the right ways, so you end up feeling full and satisfied, okay? So let's go. Have you ever said, gosh, I gorged myself last night on eggs and chicken. Of course not, all right? That's just cuckoo. Who goes around saying that? Because when you eat foods that are real, your body gets satisfied and you just know you've had enough and you'll stop eating. But as I said, if you're going to go and eat pizzas and all sugary foods and anything like that, you just, you know, you get to a point where you go, okay, my stomach's full, because that's a different hormone again, okay, but you can still keep eating, okay, you can still keep going after that. So number one step is that when you eat real foods, it activates the right hormones and it does what the body is normally and naturally meant to do, okay? So you would never say you gorge yourself on eggs and chicken, because it just doesn't happen, because you physically can't gorge yourself. You get to the point where it just naturally stops. So the second hormone that's really important to understand is insulin. So insulin is a storing hormone and it doesn't discriminate. It will store anything, okay? Fats, sugars, it will store anything. And I call insulin your Arnold Schwarzenegger hormone because it does it on steroids, right? So this lovely young lady on the right in the picture, and what I mentioned earlier is that if you look at people's body shapes, you can generally make an assumption about what their eating habits are like, okay? Because insulin and where it stores on your body, it'll just go anywhere. And as women, we naturally store it around our hips and thighs, belly, backs of our arms, and that's all, you know, the estrogen related. That there's a whole other pattern around that as well, which is a whole nother conversation, right? So that's just where women naturally store their weight. So insulin doesn't discriminate. It'll take anything, all right? So insulin, actually, its job is to transport nutrients to your cells. It's a storage machine and it doesn't care what it stores, fats or glucose, which is sugar. So effectively, insulin becomes a fat storing machine. Shock horror, oh my God. This is what you need to know, ladies. Okay, insulin is your fat storing machine. So if you don't want to store fat, become friends, become best friends with insulin, okay? So blood sugar controls insulin, and anything processed carbohydrates control your blood sugar. Okay, so let's say that again. Blood sugars control insulin, okay, and processed carbohydrates control your blood sugar. So if you affect your blood sugar, you're going to affect your insulin, right? That's just the process that it goes through. But without insulin, our blood sugars skyrocket, which is why diabetics don't produce insulin. So diabetics will have to have insulin injections, right? Because their blood sugar's all over the place. But we need insulin to control the blood sugars. So if your blood sugar is way too high, bad things happen. It can result in you going into a coma, or it can result in death, which is pretty extreme. So blood sugars need to be under control, okay? But the thing is, though, you know, anytime with the insulin, where our insulin is only meant to spike for very short periods of time, for only very short periods during the day, okay? So up and then come down. That's how you want insulin to work. But the problem is, because most of the day that we will eat, we're eating things that, you know, are processed. We're eating things that are, you know, effectively being touched by man in some way. So because our bodies don't recognize it, it spikes your insulin quickly and it keeps your insulin high. So remember I said earlier, we want our insulin to go spike quickly and come back down quickly. That's what we need. But the higher and the longer it stays up at that high level, that's when it switches into fat storing Arnold Schwarzenegger activity, all right? So we want the insulin to stay down as long as we can during the day. So every time you eat something that's sugary, that's processed, that's not real, your insulin stays up and becomes fat burning, okay? I can't say that enough. That's really what you want to hear. If you only take away that thing tonight, that's what you need to know. So what's the equation? Really easy, right? You eat something sugary, which is what I just said. which comes in the form of, let's just say, a lovely pink donut, spikes your insulin, and you turn into a fat storing machine. But only, as I said, having one donut in a day is not going to kill you. But if you have multiple, every meal that you eat, and that includes breakfast, snacks, lunch, snacks, dinner, snacks, and let's face it, we eat intermittently and consistently during every day, right? Every time you eat something that spikes your insulin, your body just becomes a better fat storing machine. And it does it so well, okay? That's one thing that you need to know. And when you spike your insulin levels, okay, by eating all these foods and you spike it often, your body just can't burn fat. If it's storing fat, it's not burning fat. So you can go and do exercise till the cows come home, but you're not going to be going into fat burning mode, because if you're not looking at your food and adjusting your food, your body just continues storing it. So you can't burn at the same time that you're storing, okay? Makes sense? Okay, this is scary stuff, right? But when you get it and you understand it, it just becomes so simple. Okay, so what can you do? Okay, so look, our bodies have a normal way of operating. Okay, when you interrupt its normal programming, our bodies react in harmful ways, which is what we all know. We see it everywhere we go out and about. Okay, we see it. So when you eat sugar, your body craves it more and more. But, you know, with sugars and stuff like that, we think we're being deprived. We think we're missing out. But it's not that at all, okay? It's just that you've programmed your body to want something that it doesn't need. So you've got to reprogram it in the other direction. So you're feeding the wrong program, essentially. So what can you do, which is one of the things you want to know tonight, right? What can you do to change those programs? So you have to avoid sugars. Anything processed, anything man-made, you've just got to avoid those, okay? Because as much as they're fun, as much as they're enjoyable, then feeding your body the wrong program, and your body is not doing what it naturally is meant to do, okay? In fact, it's doing the opposite, as we can all see. So you need to eat more fats, the good ones. And, you know, what fats do I eat? Well, that's another whole conversation again, okay? You can go into anything about that. And once again, we're bombarded with messages about these are good fats, these are bad fats. But, you know, it's simple. It's really simple. But the thing is, there's so much fats and stuff buried and disguised in certain foods, which is why it becomes complicated. And obviously proteins as well, that to make you feel full. You want to feed that leptin hormone, the one that makes you feel full and makes you stop eating. So with the leptin, okay, it's only fats and proteins that actually give you that signal in your brain to stop eating and that you're full. Okay, only fats and proteins. So fats are actually good for you because they do make you feel satiated and full. And proteins, like you eat like a nice chicken breast or a steak or something like that, you know, that's going to make you feel full, and that's what you want. So leptin only recognizes fats and proteins to make you feel full, right? That's what triggers off that hormone. And obviously leptin decreases your appetite, making you feel more satisfied. Whereas, you know, insulin actually stimulates your hormone, which is called ghrelin, which is your appetite hormone, which makes you want to eat more. So insulin spikes want you to eat more, which is where you put on weight. So only reach for foods that are real. So things like, you know, there's so many ways of eating out there, and I'm a big fan of paleo, I guess. Not in its all entirety. Like, I don't really religiously go out and buy paleo books or anything like that, but I think what's out there at the moment, that paleo is kind of the more friendly, body friendly and more functional and fundamental way of eating, because it actually does kind of mirror what the caveman ate. Okay, so what was available to primitive man and how to eat. And paleo kind of works on that principle. So if you could hunt it, if you could fish it, if you could pluck it or catch it or pick it or grow it, well, then that's the fundamental philosophy behind paleo, right? And I kind of like that one the most, because it all relies on natural, real foods that you can just get out of your environment. and nothing comes in there that is processed, man-made, made in a factory, made in a packet, whatever. So I kind of like that one the best. So if you're going to look at for anything, you know, that's the best fundamental principle to have a look at and be friends with. So only reach for foods that are real and listen to your body's signals that something isn't right. So as I mentioned earlier, a lot of the intolerances and a lot of allergies that are out there at the moment, I really do honestly believe they're man-created. Okay, so you're getting so many kids these days where they're at school and they've got allergies and they can't eat this and they can't enjoy their school life and join in parties because they're allergic to stuff. And I'm a big believer that a lot of these allergies might have been created while the kids were in the womb, because whatever the mother ingests ultimately gets passed on to the kids, right? So when the babies are born, they're already kind of set up with some sort of pattern of how their bodies are going to respond along the way, which is quite sad. But yeah, a lot of intolerance and stuff. Like, for example, listening to your body's signals. Like, I used to eat bread day in, day out, right? Who doesn't love bread and toast and butter, and it's just delicious, right? And even thinking about it now, my mouth waters. But I realized that over time that, I had this sort of layer around my midsection, which I just felt heavy around my waist and my hips, and a little bit of a bloat in my belly. And I go, why is it not shifting? No matter how clean my diet was, no matter how much I exercised, it just wouldn't shift. And, I just had bread in my diet as you normally do, because it's kind of standard, right? If you go back to the food pyramid at the beginning, food, breads and grains are at the bottom, saying you should consume that the most. But it's not true. It's actually, the food pyramid is actually turned upside down on its head these days, where you should eat more of the vegetables and fruits and stuff and less of all the breads and grains. So I worked out that my body was intolerant to bread and wheats and things like that. So I don't eat bread, rice, pasta, anything like that. I could eat it. I'm not allergic. I'm intolerant. So my intolerance, it manifests in a way that I feel bloated. I feel, heavy. I feel thick around my midsection. I have a little bit of a pot belly. And I feel really thick and heavy around my hips. So that's my body's way of manifesting its dislike for breads and grains and things like that. So I had to listen to that and go, right, okay, I'm going to try and cut out bread. So it was just a process of elimination. I'm going to try and cut out bread and see what happens. Within a week of cutting out bread, my body just changed because it got back to its natural state. And then I tried eating bread and I go, oh yeah, within 10 minutes I can feel it. And sugar's the same for me, right? It's interesting, when I was a kid, I used to sit in front of the television and squint a lot. My eyes just kind of stung. And, went to the optometrist. They said, no, your eyesight's perfect. You don't need glasses. But my eyes just would always sting. And what I've worked out now, 48 years down the track, it's sugar. So if I have something sugary like lollies or chocolate or something, my eyes begin to sting within 10 minutes of eating sugar. Ridiculous, right? So all those years spent as a kid in front of the television squinting and having stinging eyes, it was because I was loading up on sugar. So that's another sign. So now, yes, I can eat sugar, but I'm going to have to put up with the consequences, and that's just my choice. And the same with steak, right? I used to love a good steak, and over time, though, I have actually stopped eating steak, well, especially from the supermarkets, because I was starting to feel a bit, unwell after eating a steak. And I think it's just that it's a sad state that our cows and everything are injected with hormones to make them grow bigger and fatter and faster, so they can hit our supermarkets a lot quicker. So ultimately, once again, we ingest what those animals have ingested somewhere down the track. And after time, it just loads and loads and loads, and it's a build-up of all those toxins in our bodies, which make us, intolerant to those sorts of things. So I don't eat steak from Coles anymore because, I was starting to feel it. So it's really important to listen to your body's signals telling you that something that you're eating isn't working for you. It doesn't align with your body's natural functions, okay? So we've got to learn to listen. And unfortunately, most people don't. okay? So, and think of your food as your fuel, as your nourishment, rather than reward or punishment. I don't know how many times I had clients who'd come out of a sweaty workout session and they go, oh, that was awesome, I feel great. I'm going to go and reward myself with a coffee and cake. Really? Seriously? You've burnt off all that great work and you're going to just go and load it back up with the things that you shouldn't. So we use food as a reward and or as a punishment. So if you feel bad or guilty or upset, you'll go and eat the foods that you don't need. Okay, so it works either way. So it's very emotionally driven, like we discussed earlier. So I've put two pictures down the bottom, and one of them will resonate with you, so it's up to you where you're at. So the one on the left with the baby eating all the fruits and veggies and stuff, I mean, babies, they're here, they start out teeny weeny and they grow. So we give them great healthy foods to help them grow because it nourishes their growing bodies, right? And it's you know, some people don't always give their babies the best nourishment, but you're not going to give your kids or your growing newborn baby bad foods because their bodies won't grow to their full capacity, all right? So that's why I put that one there, and mums will know this, that, yeah, you want to give your baby the best. And it's unfortunate and sad that we don't apply the same principles to ourselves, okay? And the pink Ferrari I put there because, hey, you know, who doesn't love a pink Ferrari, right? Seriously. But it's an expensive car, right? So if you have an expensive car, you're not going to put rubbish petrol, rubbish oil, and really low-grade quality stuff into it to make it run. You're going to service it and you're going to, you know, give it time and attention. So your body is no different. Why put rubbish stuff into your Ferrari grade body? Okay, it's just doesn't, the equation doesn't make sense when you look at it that way. So that's why I put two there to have a look at, and you can choose which one works for you the most. So, oh gosh, so many things to cover and so little time. So let's move on. Okay, so here we come to some mindset tricks. We're getting at it. We're running out of towards some time now. So you are in control, okay? So what I said earlier, that mindset, I think, is 30% of the equation around how we eat. Okay, so these are some little tricks here that I've tried myself over the years, and hey, look, they're not set in stone. There's so many different options out there, but these are three that I think actually work, and I think you can just choose one that works for you. So you are in control, okay? So many people think that food controls them. That's just rubbish. That's a lie. That's just a good excuse so they don't have to be accountable for clearing up and tidying up the way they eat, right? So you are in control. You get to say what you eat, when you eat, how you eat, okay? That's just a really good thing to get under your belt and to understand and be okay with. So the first one I've got here is the self-questioning conversation. So I had a conversation with a lady the other day, and she said one of her biggest frustrations is that I just snack. Before I know it, I'm in the cupboard pulling food out, and I don't even know how I get there. It's like a robotic action. So this is where self-questioning comes in. So you have to stop and go, oh, okay, if I want to lose weight, is this food I'm about to eat right now going to get me closer or further away from my goals? And it's obvious, right? If it's going to get me closer, eat it. If that chocolate bar is going to get you closer to losing weight, go for it. I highly doubt it, right? But if it's going to take you further away from your weight loss goals, well, then step away from the chocolate bar, okay? That's your self-questioning conversation. You've got to get good at stopping yourself midst action of reaching for the wrong foods, of all those bad habits you've got there, and questioning yourself out of it, okay? That's one method. You have to be very on top of that too. So it's one you have to get good at and practice all the time. And you'll practice it multiple times during the day. The next one is the liquid answer. So this whole thing about feeling full and making sure that you don't feel like you're hungry, because quite often we mistake dehydration for the sign that we're hungry. And it's actually not the case. It just means that you're dehydrated. So the liquid answer is, and I've done this many, many times, and it's a great way to curb that need to go for food instead of water, is go and drink a glass of water. So if you think, oh my gosh, I'm hungry, but I only ate like an hour ago, So one, that could be that you've eaten the wrong foods an hour ago, so which is why you're hungry again. Because if you've eaten the right foods, you shouldn't be hungry an hour later, okay? That should satiate you for at least 2 to 3 hours, at least. So if you think you're hungry again, go and drink a glass of water. The liquid answer, pretty self-explanatory, right? And the third one, which is a little bit out there, but hey, I've tried it. Wasn't my preferred method, but it works for some people. So Anthony Robbins is a big fan of saying, snap yourself out of that state, about change your state instantly. So this is what the rubber band does. It's a physical change of state, which is what we're looking for. So put a rubber band on your wrist, and every time you're going into the old behaviors that don't serve you, and you're wanting to get away from that, so going and reaching for something that's not great for you, okay, it's a food that isn't resourceful for you, get that rubber band and snap it. Big snap. It's going to hurt, right? But that's going to snap you out of that state instantly, and that's what you want. So when we're going into those robotic old behaviors, we need to snap you out of that state and realign you with a new behavior. Okay, so these are all really, different types. So it's up to you to pick one that works. Okay, but they all work in some way. It's just everyone's different and how they respond is different. So, okay, you're in control. So there's some mindset tricks. Now I said it is mindset. Okay, if we think it's not, we're kidding ourselves. So why not have all these tools at your fingertips that you can tap into any time you get yourself into a situation where you know you don't need to be? So let's recap. You are a reflection of what you eat, okay? Your body type and the way your body looks will be a mirror to how you're looking after yourself, okay? It's just a true hard fact. Understand that all foods affect the way your body processes it, either good or either bad, okay? Any food that's good that you put into your body will process it in the way it's meant to. Anything that's bad, it's not going to process it. It's going to go into your insulin fat storing mode, okay? That's what you want to avoid. So get to know your full hormone, the leptin hormone, which tells your brain you're full. Then stop eating, done. And steer away from spiking your Arnold Schwarzenegger fat storing hormone, which is insulin, okay? We talked about that. Anything that's sugary or processed or man-made spikes your insulin, which turns you into a fat storing machine. I don't want to be that, do you? Avoid sugary processed man-made foods, which is what I just said. Choose more real foods, which is really what your simple, fundamental, foundational diet should look like, real foods. Become a great listener. Listen to your body when it tells you something isn't working for you, something is not telling your body that I don't like this. This doesn't work for me. It doesn't make me do what I'm meant to do. Listen to those signs. Become friends with them, okay? That's your body giving you all the right information. We just don't listen. And choose a go-to trick when you're in the minefield. Okay, so any of those tricks, and you might come up with your own. You might find something that you've heard somewhere else or someone else has used, but just find something that's your go-to trick, okay? Okay, and most importantly, love yourself. Believe that you're worth a little bit of discomfort initially while you're changing all these habits and really redefining and reprogramming the way you eat and what you eat and how you eat. Understand and believe that you're worth that little bit of discomfort to get to a good space and to put your body back in its natural state of being. Okay, the picture I showed you of me now, that's my natural state of being. Okay, if I keep doing what I'm doing, my body will just stay that way because it's its natural equilibrium. And that's what so many people aren't living in right now. So you have to love yourself enough to believe that you're worth the effort, that you're worth the time and the changes and the input to doing what you need to do. Believe that you're worth it, okay? And you have to love yourself enough to do what you need to do to recorrect and reprogram all those bad habits, okay? So you've got to really believe that. Brings a tear to my eye when I think about things like that, but you have to really love yourself enough, okay? I believe you're worth it. I just want you to believe it. Okay, so this is about where we're about to end off now. So I've been speaking so much and I could speak for hours on stuff like this. It's just what I'm so passionate about. And I just want to help as many people as I can really get back in tune with their body and really reconnect to what makes them feel wonderful, what makes them feel amazing, and, you know, loving what they see when they look in the mirror. I mean, that's just what I'm so passionate about, and I just could talk about it all day, every day, which is what I've just done for 45 minutes, right? So what now? What can you do now? Okay, so I love helping women especially get back into their natural state and making food simple, making it really, really easy, okay? Food should not drive or dominate your life. It really shouldn't. It should just nourish you and uplift you and energize you. That's what food is meant to do, right? So that's what I want to teach women how to do without upturning or turning their life upside down. So what you can do now is, if you're interested, okay, in having a chat about where you are now, where your frustrations are, what's not working, but you're not quite sure what to do or how to get out of it, let's get on the phone and talk about that, okay? And then we can work about what's the right strategy for you moving forward and how what can help you. So book in a free 45-minute fit session, which is I call feeling in tune. So it doesn't have to mean running marathons. It's about you getting back to feeling in tune with your body, okay, in its natural state. So you can book in a free 45-minute call with me. You have to book it in the next 24 hours. Doesn't mean we have to do it in the next 24 hours. I just want you to book it in. Okay, take action. Believe that you're worth it, okay? You can just you can either private message me or go to my website and put your information into the contact box. That's a really easy way too. So do that, and if you do that in the next 24 hours, you get my free ebooks, one which is The Muscle of Feminine Energy, and the second one is the 7 Health Mistakes that Successful Women Make. There's a lot of good info in there, just will help we get through. So if you book your call in, yeah, I can shoot those your way as well. And I will make a recording of this available for everyone who's been on the call tonight. So I'll put that up first thing tomorrow morning when I get around to it. And yes, you get a mini ebook of the Skinny on food versus hormones as well, as promised. So that's a big, big thank you from me. I'm so grateful and so blessed that you've all taken this time out to listen to me, okay? Because we all want to go where and listen to people that we resonate with. So in some way that's why you're here tonight. So I'm really, really grateful and blessed that you've taken time out, and I love sharing with you. And as I said, I could talk all day about this, and I really hope that we can connect in some way, and I can help you really get back into that loving space of loving who you are, loving what your body is and how it looks, and really getting back into living life in the best way you can. So thank you so much. Have a fabulous night, and I look forward to catching up with you all very, very soon. Don't forget to book your call in. Okay. Have a great night, guys. Bye.